Hey, what is up? Welcome to this episode of the Entrepreneur to Entrepreneur podcast. As always, I'm your host, Brian Lofermento, and I am very excited about today's episode and my conversation with an incredible guest because, well, his business is definitely way more technical than what I can understand, but I can already tell that it is such a joy and treat and real valuable insights to get into the mind of the way that he thinks. I really love the origin story of his business and how it was started out of a partnership. You're going to hear more about that. I really love the way that he finds simple solutions in a complex world. So let me introduce you to today's guest. His name is Anthony Brown. Anthony is Vice President of Mighty Lube and OPCO Lubrication Systems with over 20 years of experience in conveyor chain maintenance. He's a graduate of Johnson & Wales University with a degree in international business, and he specializes in Industry 4.0 solutions for smart lubrication systems. He founded the MOX training program in 2017, offering hands-on education for maintenance teams across North America. In 2022, he launched his company, APEX Lubrication, which is a forward-thinking company that leverages machine learning and real-time data to optimize conveyor performance across multi-site industrial operations. Like I said, way more technical than I understand, but it is always a blast to get inside the mind of a real-life entrepreneur and strategic thinker. So I'm not going to say anything else. Let's dive straight into my interview with Anthony Brown. All right, Anthony, I am so very excited that you're here with us today. First things first, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Brian. I'm excited to be on.
Heck yes. Man, there's a lot of acronyms in there that I don't fully understand, but I'm excited. Let's kick things off. Take us beyond the bio. Who's Anthony? How did you start doing all these cool things?
Definitely. So my father started the company in 1981. It's definitely a very niche business. I would not even know this business myself and wasn't growing up in the business from doing lubricant and cleaning buckets when I was 6-7 years old to literally going to college in Denver and my father saying, hey, we got this new system out called the monitoring system, and we'd like you to join in on this, because my goal was to go to radio for Europe and Czech Republic. I wanted to travel the world and broadcast free news, and I went down a different path, and I've been in this business ever since, and I've learned a lot, and definitely not the most mechanical engineer type mindset, but I've learned a lot over the years, and I've definitely looked forward to the newest technologies out there and constantly trying to push that wall.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that about you, Anthony, because that's the true spirit of an entrepreneur. Talk to us about the business's launch, because I think it's really unique and it's a really great story and a solid foundation for you to launch and build a company on top of through that strategic collaboration. Take us behind the scenes there.
Yeah, so the monitoring system back when I first got out of college, 2004, is just getting off the groundwork and starting to get into some of the bigger automotive factories. But they were really using that on one or two of the most critical chains. And jumping forward to 2009, one of the Japanese automotive factories, one of the gentlemen that I actually work with heavily now, David Lamont, to create this company, he's like, every chain in this plant's critical, because if any chain breaks, then it can cause major downtime to this plant. So at that point, we started looking at not one chain or two chains, but we looked at all the chains. So this plant, Nissan in Nashville, Tennessee, we ended up doing 150 conveyor chains in that plant. And that's what really started the catalyst of the monitoring system. And then jumping forward to the APEX side of things, it's just been a major development of taking what the monitoring system did, which was very technical for the technicians, which is a derivative of the MOX class to give them the training to how to maintain it. Directors, reliability managers, purchasing people, they're not going to take a class for 2-3 days. You can't give them that time is so valuable for them. They need 5-10 minutes on something to be able to know exactly how to see what they need for their needs, which could be purchasing chain, the reliability side of it. So we've made APEX for that higher level admin person where they can quickly get what they need out of it and then drive the force right to simplify it so they can make that process way faster and streamlined throughout the whole entire business for them.
Yeah, Anthony, hearing the way that you talk about these things, I feel like it reveals different sides of your brain. And of course, I interview entrepreneurs and founders for a living, and it's always fun to hear the different value adds that different founders and CEOs bring to the table. Because with you, I mean, I'm hearing so many things. Obviously, you're in a niche technical field, but as you said, like there's an engineering way to think about things. It sounds to me like you really care about systems. I mean, knowing that you are in depth into the training programs, obviously that's the people element of businesses. How would you describe your executive mind and what you bring to the table? Because I'm sure it's all very valuable in your industry.
Definitely. Great question. So the toughest part is, for me, again, I was born in this business. I've been doing it since, like I said, 5-6 years old. So the training class has been a major development. And we developed that class just because there was turnover within the local area where there's people working on our systems. Then 3-4 months later, they're getting moved to other positions. I had no clue that Mox would be driven into a power force where we've handled 15 different countries, hundreds of people have come to the class, and it really boils down to is like, hey, something that I've been passionate about, my family's been passionate about. How do we educate people to help them understand how to take care of these conveyor chains at a much higher level than that 5-minute elevator speech to like, hey, this is what our system does, this is how you can help your chain, to get the longevity and the actual real benefits of a high level monitoring and lubrication system. That education is such a huge part of it, and Mox has really taken it to that level. And the other cool part about the Mox class is hearing all the different stories from reliability managers on a global scale and hearing things that they've done that helped out in better situations. So not only are we teaching, but we're learning so much from the class ourselves over the last years. I mean, we started in 2017. It's been a way more efficient and educational than I ever really thought it would become.
Yeah, it's something that obviously here behind the podcast, I mean, education is something that we can all pass on when we share our experiences. There's a lot of different ways to educate. You called out, even in your bio, it talks about hands-on education for maintenance teams. Anthony, talk to us about that educational environment that you've created, because, I mean, this is important stuff that everybody's working on. So what does that educational style look like?
Definitely. So in 2016, Prentice Richardson, a good friend of mine that works at the plant, said, Tony, they are doing a joint situation where they're going to be building a brand new college in Smyrna, Tennessee. And I reached out to some different parties, and it was a little bit of a journey, but we literally ended up getting a very good spot in there where we donated about $100,000 of our equipment, and the students at the college are learning on it, and then Mox was started from that. So we are able to get the actual conveyor chain in that facility, which is a safe area for people to learn on, where we have a completely controlled environment. And then we also have the classroom side too. And we try to break it up where they have some time in the classroom, but as soon as they, after lunch, people are getting tired, we put them right into the hands-on. But, getting that classroom experience is a must to get the foundation down. But to get the hands-on experience, that's what really, I think, gives the area where these people actually remember how to take care of these systems instead of just reading PowerPoints for 8 hours a day. And it's like, okay, hey, I'm expected to go do this. Let's take what we learned in the classroom for 2-3 hours and then put it right to work, right in the field on that conveyor chain in a controlled, safe environment.
Yeah, it's so cool thinking about that. I remember I grew up near a firefighter training base, and it was cool to see how they built a controlled environment for firefighters to go into this building that they would literally set on fire. And truth be told, there's no other way to learn. I frequently talk about it in terms of entrepreneurship, is that you could study entrepreneurship, you could read about it, you could listen to podcasts about it. You don't actually get to know it until you do the thing. And I think it's so cool to hear how you've created that environment. I also love, you so correctly, it's obvious to all of us, but you called out it's a niche business, and I'm a big believer that there are so many lessons to learn within each and every niche. When I look at your niche, I think about the word precision and how important precision is in your industry. But then, Anthony, knowing that you're a fellow entrepreneur and a fellow founder, I think about precision in entrepreneurship is not always attainable because there's so many question marks. There's so many things we're figuring out. Talk to us about some of those industry crossovers into your entrepreneurial mind.
Yeah, definitely. Anything with niche, it's a kind of a scary world in some ways, but it's also a very solid foundation world. Because it's one of those situations. Is it so niche that somebody won't buy it? When we first started the monitoring system, a lot of our competitors, now they're playing catch up. A lot of them are like, what you guys are doing is hogwash. It's not needed. Well, in today's world, we started this in 1996, and back then it was a little bit ahead of the time. But now with machine learning, AI, and the know-how of predictive maintenance and prescription maintenance, how much value there is to that. This niche business that we built, it was a slow process to get it moving, to get the money behind it that we really needed from the big automotive and now the protein plants. But now we're the head of the business because of that. But with any niche business, it's scary. It's a scary world because you're going into territories that don't really exist yet. That industry that you're disrupting the industry. You're changing something that has never existed. That's the world I want to be in. That's the world I love being in. I love being in an area where you are creating something that has never been there before, and then providing solutions to customers that they never thought could even exist, and then seeing the actual turnaround where the actual benefit of it, where plants are saving millions of dollars from something that we did from a small company in Fremont, Michigan, to having a global impact on automotive plants and protein plants across the world, and seeing firsthand from these engineers the excitement that they've actually seen from it. That right there is worth more than any dollar amount. It is knowing that we're actually benefiting the world, and that's a dream that any entrepreneur wants, is seeing that their product is actually being used for something to benefit.
Yeah, Anthony, that answer really reminds me of a popular entrepreneurial quote that I once heard, and I always think about it, where the quote goes something along the lines of, you're always growing two businesses simultaneously, the business that you have today and the business that you're going to have 5 years from now. It sounds like that's a very conscious decision between your mind, between your father's mind, behind everybody that is involved in the visionary thinking of all of these different businesses that have grown and become industry leaders. How's that play into your thinking? Do you find that to be the case in the way that you see the world? Is that business today and business 5 years from now mindset, or how do you balance those two?
Definitely. Like a lot of people, I missed the major gold rush with Bitcoin. So my mind is definitely more long term. Everything that we do, it's especially starting my own company up with APEX, and my father allowed that to alliance up with his companies. I've learned so much from it, because patience is something that I definitely had a hard time right out of college. I thought I could take over the world in a couple of years with our product line, because we have the best product line in the world. It doesn't work that way. It's a lot of hard work, and the main thing is that's having the best product. That's kindling on a fire, but to get that long burn of a fire, the logs, and it takes the right team, it takes the right dedication, and it really takes that longevity to make sure that your system can hold up to the time. And when that time does come, which obviously in 2004 and 2009, when we started really getting a launch on the monitoring system, now it's really that those seeds have really fulfilled their full plant level now in today's world. But we are definitely in the long run. I still think I'm young. I feel old some days, but I'm in it for the long run. And the only way to withstand anything going on is you got to have the best technology on the world. And that technology has got to be actually benefiting a customer, not just being a new whistle for them to blow on and then it fades away. So you got to have that longevity.
Yeah, speaking of impatience, Anthony, I think that you're preaching to the choir here. I think all of us entrepreneurs are inherently impatient because we are so ambitious in all of our journeys. And you called something out. It's probably one of the earliest entrepreneurial truths that was a hard lesson for me to learn. I started my first business when I was 19, and I felt like I was pretty good at things, Anthony, because I just grew up with computers. Like, I loved using computers, so I could build things really quickly. This is, going back to 2008 when WordPress wasn't what it is today. There weren't so many tools. That was my unique advantage at that time. And then I very quickly learned what you called out. It's not enough to just have the best product. You've already called out, you got to have a great team in place. You have to have the right vision in place. You clearly have to be able to think about the future. Life would have been easier if you and I were early adopters to Bitcoin. We'd be having a different conversation today. Exactly. But with all of those things in mind, Anthony, I'm so curious. Clearly you understand the many components of what it takes to build a great business. What's that foundation that you look at, because the great product isn't enough these days?
You're really relying on your family, your team, your backbone that with anything that goes on in this world. I mean, if it's a sport, you got to go back to the fundamentals. You got to be solid in that foundation, because if you do not have a solid foundation, the longevity is not going to resist. It's not going to uphold throughout the time. People talk about balance of life. I mean, any entrepreneur, this is not something to jump in. I feel like I'm a very, very confident, very strong person on things, almost to the point some people literally said that it's to the point of being straight up cocky to some points, with the passion I have for the business. The problem with it is, no matter how strong you are, it will literally break you at points. Like I'm a very optimistic person. There's definitely been moments now that I've been pessimistic, just because it's hard. I mean, there's so many layers to it, and balancing life out, with family and doing the businesses I have. I've truthfully never met an entrepreneur that can truthfully say that they have a very balanced life. I don't think that exists. I think with this work is going on way beyond your normal 8 to 5 job. This is something that if you're going to break walls down and change things, it's going to cause imbalance. It's going to cause major uncomfort in your own life. And the only way I can to withstand this, I mean, realistically, is religion, being a Christian, having the ability to have a very solid foundation of my family to trust me and give me the time I need to get through this process, this season. Without that foundation, I already would have fell apart. Your confidence alone will not get you through this. It is a hard journey to start up a new business.
Boom. You just said a word. I feel like we have to talk about it here on the air. Publicly, I think we need to talk this more in entrepreneurial circles, but also I would extrapolate and just say in life, humanity, we need to have this conversation more, as you called out, seasons. And I think, again, that's been such a hard lesson for me, especially at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. I've always loved that very simple quote. The older I get, I think the more I appreciate it, of this too shall pass. The good seasons are going to pass. The bad seasons are going to pass. Anthony, a lot of people will be listening to you and I, of two people who are very confident, two people who are very positive and very passionate, and they're going to think that these things don't waver. You've already kind of revealed, like, these things do waver, and they're not enough to carry you through that. Talk to us about the very high highs, but also the very low lows, because you've had to navigate through all of those.
Definitely. Obviously, with a new product line, getting your first sale is huge. The second one is going to be even better. I can't wait to get my second sale. We do have it in one large automotive plant, but those highs right there, getting a win, getting where the program, maybe you had a bug on it, or a major roadblock of trying to get the system to do something that you really wanted to, and then finally getting through that after months and months of working with the developers and finally getting that through. That's a huge, those wins, and sometimes those little wins that help you get through those bad times. So the tough times is just a massive amount of development time that it takes. And it's like, hey, I want to get from here to here. That word simplicity, and any entrepreneur knows, to get to simplicity for a customer level is extremely complex behind the scenes to get something to be more simple. It's not that easy. If it was, everyone else would be doing it. So, I mean, without the foundation of my family to help me through those really low times, to pick me back up, it's like, listen, this is going to be okay. You're going to get through this. I mean, listen to podcasts like yours. I listen to a lot of Gary. I'm going to say his name right, Vaynerchuk. I mean, that guy, motivational things, he is amazing. I think he's helped out a lot of entrepreneurs just by listening to him speak on motivation. You can't give up. I mean, you got to keep on breaking through it. Again, as I mentioned, I'm a very optimistic person, and I've been pessimistic more than I ever have in the last couple of years because of this development process. And if it wasn't for outside resources and my wife and my belief in God, I don't think I would have been able to break through some of the walls I have.
Yeah, I so appreciate those insights, Anthony, especially because I'll be honest, as a host of a show that is 7 days a week, every single day, people can tune into this. I have 2 goals for every episode. I've actually never revealed this to a guest or here on the air while we're live. And Anthony, those 2 goals is, 1, I want someone to learn something from every single episode, have a tangible takeaway. And then 2 is, I know that a strong value add is if you and I together, our conversation can get someone to say, you know what? I'm just going to try for one more day. I'm going to keep those coals in the fire. I'm just going to keep on working. Then we've won, because that's all we can do to other people is to keep them going. And I love the fact that you and obviously all of our guests embrace that thought process. with that in mind, I also know how lonely it can feel. You've called out your faith, you've called out your family, you've called out these very important pillars, but I want to flip the coin, Anthony, and talk about when you are all alone, because being the founder of a company, there are solo times where you have to sit down and set that vision and ask yourself the very executive level questions. What does that executive time look like? Is this time that you're intentionally carving out in your calendar and saying, hey, this is Anthony time, where I'm just sitting down as the founder and thinking about things? Is it something that happens naturally? For me, it's in the shower. I take the longest showers ever because that's partially my executive time. How do you work through that?
No, definitely. My time alone, I was a little scared of this, I was a little worried about it, is where I live, because Fremont's a smaller town. I moved from Nashville area to this area, and I have a longer drive because I live over by Grand Haven. So I drive 45 minutes to work every day here and there. So, an hour and a half round trip. So that time driving, I am reflecting a lot. That is almost my meditation level. I know there's entrepreneurs that have way better ways of meditating, but that drive to me is my meditation, from listening to different music, different podcasts. That's my alone time. That is what some people run in the morning. Mine is that drive, getting that alone time to really reflect, to start my day, and then when I go home, reflect before I walk in the house with 3 young boys to be excited to see their dad. I need that little 45-minute breaks in the day, which help me drastically to kind of ground myself back to where I need to be.
Yeah, I love that answer, Anthony. That's the realities. You called out that balance is so difficult, potentially impossible to achieve in life, and especially in business. And it's really cool to hear how you take those moments when they come. And I think that attitude allows you to do that in a chaotic world. And so one of the things, listeners know this is a little bit of behind the scenes. They know that we always ask our guests to fill out a questionnaire. There's something in your questionnaire that jumped out at me, Anthony, because I thought to myself, I want to hear how that plays out in your industry. And that is part of your skill set and part of your strengths is that you're a strategic storyteller. We talk about storytelling so much in the world of marketing and sales and nurturing and audience growth and engagement. How's that factor into the work that you do? Because I imagine it's a huge asset and probably not one that's very prevalent in your industry.
No, I've always been, since I've been younger, I love telling stories. I'm the guy around the bonfire that's going to tell either the sort of spooky stories to the little kid making s'mores, to the elaborate stories for different things to get people, from the hanging out with friends and sitting around the bonfire too. But storytelling, I think, is needs to be in the business way more. And I've taught all my sales guys, like, guys, doesn't matter how good your product is, you're really selling yourself. When you are in these plants, you are their go-to guy. I want you to be their go-to lead guy. But to be that guy, you have to get that relationship building with them. And there's no better way of being a good storyteller. And that goes even from your employees in your company to the developers I work with. You're constantly trying to motivate them, because to have the right people and the high-level team members you have, or these high-level clients, they love stories. I've gone to great depths to even push myself to create amazing stories, from international travels to going to India and not having an account set or meeting set up with certain accounts and stopping by their front gate with the machine guns out and they're looking not at me, but this in the gate, and literally telling them that, listen, I came all the way out to United States to talk to the maintenance manager and get the guy pulled out of a meeting to go talk to him in person. And because that was a story for him too, that he's going to tell his kids that this random American showed up to my gate and got me pulled out of a meeting. So, I love stories. I think stories is the best way to educate somebody, that keeps them and literally enticed into the actual amount to be able to actually learn from, instead of like, hey, here's a PowerPoint presentation, here's what we need to teach you. You tell a story behind that, and they're going to remember for years and years to come. And then obviously for them to tell a story back, and that's the best part, is when you hear someone tell a story about your own product line, how it helped them, then that's even better. But yeah, I love stories. I think stories is the best way to teach people, but also get the engagement that you normally wouldn't be able to get otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the uniquely human experience. Obviously, stories are the thing that have existed since humanity has existed.
For
and
sure.
the fact that you leverage that, here you are on a podcast episode talking about the time you went to India. Like, who would expect that to be a story that you continue to tell? And it's huge kudos to you. The older I get, the more I appreciate that all of these things come through practice, is that you weren't born a storyteller. You just started telling stories and you got better at it over time. And I think that there's so much value to be taken from that. I always just remind myself, it's reps. Just like in the gym, it's just reps. There's no other way of going about it. So Anthony, it's really cool to hear the way that you think. Clearly relationships are important to you. It has come up so many times in our conversations today, and not all listeners can see us right now, but I can see that you light up when you talk about your relationships, whether it's your family, whether it's your colleagues, whether it's people in the industry, whether it's sales prospects. Talk to us about it, because clearly stories help foster those relationships, but you look for relationships. Talk to us about your attitude there. And then most importantly, I'm going to throw in a little bit of a tactical question. How the heck do you manage relationships? To do that at scale is so difficult. I obviously lean on technology a lot. I'm a big tech fan, but how do you view and manage relationships?
Definitely. The one part is, and I think the biggest part for being an entrepreneur is getting the right team together. And that team, you really have to have the relationship built with it. And that's the part I think I was extremely lucky or blessed with, whichever way you want to call it, is finding somebody like a David Lamons that literally had the very technical aspect of conveyor chains on a very 20 some plus years in a high level executive position in an automotive plant. Be able to help build a relationship with him. I mean, in a lot of ways, I call him my second dad, or definitely a mentor to me for years. But him literally, that fostered relationship. When he retired, that definitely started the whole process of APEX. But then Matt Kanish, a childhood friend of mine who is a PhD, computer programmer, and then him bringing in Ranama. I mean, these guys, like I went around, I called Nashville, several big consulting firms up, like, hey, I need help with making this software to begin with. And the amount of money that they're charging, and you're bringing you sit down in a boardroom, they make it all, super peachy and it sounds great, but it's going to cost this insane amount of money. And instead, drawing off my relationships and my partnerships over the people that I've known for years and grew up with, or the David Lamons situation, that's what built APEX. And without that development, I would have never be able to get APEX even close to where it is today without those fostered relationships over the time. And then jumping over to the client side, I mean, with my clients not having built relationship and trust in me, I was able to bring APEX into a company that I wasn't even fully developed in, but they trusted me that I would get it to where it needed to go. So they gave me that chance. Without that little stepping stone, we would not be able to get all the beta testing done to get APEX where it is. So it's all these little things that come together that every bit of it was built off of the relationships I had with people and the kindness I give to them versus, and with also the kindness they give back to me. Without having that ability and that those relationships built, I would have never been able to get where I need. It does not, any entrepreneur that thinks they can do it by themselves, unless you have some crazy good idea that you can do every different layer to it, power to you. But I mean, after all the reading I've done too on it, you need a team, you need a village of people to help you get these things going. It's not about the one idea. Your idea is going to foster to several different layers beyond that because of the relationships you have with the people in your team, and they bring all their ideas to the table as well. So again, it's built into something way greater than we ever thought, imagined it to be.
Yeah, so well said, Anthony. That, I don't think we call that out often enough because, for example, one of my earlier questions talked about how lonely it can be to be an entrepreneur, especially for all the solopreneurs out there. As someone who was a solopreneur for so long, I feel those pains. But what you just shared takes me back to actually my brother's college graduation many years ago, and I was just a high schooler. My brother's 4 years older than me, and I remember sitting there, and the speaker is Desmond Tutu's daughter, who obviously is a very historical figure, and his daughter sat there and she said, "Today we don't celebrate you, the graduates." She's just like, because none of you did it alone. We have to celebrate the people sitting behind all of you as well, because when you were kids, they fed you, they woke you up, they brought you to school, they brought you to sports practice, They did all of these things. And Anthony, it's I always say success leaves clues. You are a living example of that. Just how quickly you rattled off all the people who have helped set you up for success in your entrepreneurial journey and who you continue to lean on. So you've been a wealth of knowledge. I knew that getting inside your mind would be fun today, but I'm very excited to see how you answer this last question because it's super broad, super general, and you could take it in any direction you want. And that is, what's your best piece of advice for listeners? Knowing that we're being listened to by both entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs at all different stages of their growth journeys and all industries, business models, all that good stuff. What's that one piece of advice that you want to leave them with today?
Definitely. The one big piece of advice is you're going to hit a wall. I don't care how good your idea is, how good a team you have, you're going to hit some walls, and do not take a hammer to that wall. You're going to want to take a precision tool like a scalpel to that wall and slowly pick at it, because if you try to take a sledgehammer, it's going to cause vibration and cause issues where you didn't see before. So you got to be very careful and definitely rely on the support of your team. If you are married, obviously if you are a Christian, rely on that foundation, because that foundation is the only way you're going to get through that wall, because it's going to be a long journey to get through it. This is not for the weak-minded. You're going to have to be stronger than you've ever been to break through that wall. And the last part is critique your storytelling. Start telling your stories, because your story is what makes who you are and what that product's going to be for years and years to come.
Boom. Anthony, I'm not sure that's the advice that any of us want today, but it is, of course, the advice that we all need. You've so directly called out so many of the real elements of what it means to be an entrepreneur, what it means to be somebody that takes risks and says, I have value that I want to bring into the marketplace. Let me put it out there. It's not for the weak-minded. I'm not sure anyone's ever called it out that directly in over 1,200 episodes, Anthony, but I so appreciate you being the one who has. I also know that listeners are going to be excited to check out all the cool work that you're doing. You've been so transparent here in today's episode about how excited you are about getting this more into the marketplace, getting that traction. Obviously, you've got so many great things that you've already developed, and you're changing your industry every single day at a time. So, Anthony, for listeners who want to find you and all the great work that you're doing, drop those links on us. Where should listeners go from here?
Yeah, definitely. You go to www.apexlube.com and you can email me directly at apb@apexlube.com. Definitely have a chance to look at it. Check out my new video I just posted with the cool machine learning technologies that we're doing. I'm partnered up with a company called Future Analytica. We got some exciting things happening right now. I'd love for you guys to reach out to me. Of course, you can always hit me up on LinkedIn.
Yes. You beat me to it, Anthony. We are also adding your personal LinkedIn link down below in the show notes, or you can go straight to apexlube.com, but check those links out in the show notes no matter where it is that you're tuning into today's episode. Otherwise, Anthony, on behalf of myself and all the listeners worldwide, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you so much, Brian. That was an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for the invite today.